Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You're joined by Ashwin Bedi and Glenn Shipura. Good morning, Glenn. How are you?
I'm doing very well. A little bit fluish, but hope to get better soon.
I'm sure you will.
Well, getting into what we can expect in today's broadcast, Senegal's Sall is handed National Dialogue Report. U.S. court sides with Apple, Tesla, and other tech companies over child labor in Africa. And growth in the South African economy increased marginally in the third quarter, while the newest petrol price hike is bad news for consumers. Harry Ohad will also expand on more news in South Africa shortly after our top stories.
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our top stories, Senegal's Sall is handed National Dialogue Report. The Senegalese President Macky Sall was handed the report written following the national dialogue he convened last week. Before the launch of the dialogue, the leader said he'd rely on the recommendations of the report to set a new date to the delayed February 25th election. If the president chooses to stick to the proposal of the talks, the presidential poll could take place on the 2nd of June. Participants in the dialogue agreed on this date as well as on a partial resumption of the electoral process. When receiving the report, Macky Sall reiterated his intention to submit his highly anticipated decision to the Constitutional Council for review. In the meantime, the opposition remains mobilized and continues to ask for the head of state to step down when his term ends on the 2nd of April. Concurrently, the National Assembly is studying the amnesty law President Sall proposed during last week's cabinet meeting. The Law Commission is set to study the proposal.
Israel must stop its war on Gaza, and the world needs to drop its double standards over the killings in the besieged enclave, Nigeria's Foreign Minister Yusuf Tagar told Al Jazeera. Tagar was visiting Qatar as part of a delegation led by Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nigeria and Qatar signed a series of memorandums of understanding and discussed potential collaboration in sectors such as energy, trade, labor, agriculture, and more. The visit came at a time when Nigeria faces mounting economic and social challenges, with armed attacks proliferating and inflation rate at 30%. Yet Nigeria, with a population of more than 200 million people and Africa's largest economy, is also eyeing a greater role in regional and global affairs.
No, sadly, two planes collided at Nairobi National Park, leaving at least 2 people dead. Now, one of the planes involved was a Dash 8 owned by Safari Link, bound for Diani, with 44 passengers and crew. The other was a Cessna plane on a training session carrying 2 people. The Cessna crashed in the park while the Dash 8 safely landed back at Wilson Airport. Now, both planes had taken off from Wilson Airport, according to officials who confirmed 2 fatalities in the accident. Now, Safari Link Aviation, however, confirmed the incident and stated that none of their passengers was hurt. Safari Link Aviation wishes to report that at 9:45 local time, the flight 053 with 39 passengers and 5 crew on board headed to Diani experienced a loud bang soon after takeoff. The crew decided to immediately turn back to Nairobi Wilson Airport for further inspection and assessment and landed safely.
Nathi Nhleko said it was painful to see the ANC turn into a party he no longer recognized, accusing it of introducing austerity measures and dismantling state-owned companies. Mr. Nhleko was close to the scandal-hit ex-president Jacob Zuma. Earlier this year, the ANC suspended Mr. Zuma for backing a rival party. An ANC official responded to Mr. Nhleko's resignation by saying, "Good riddance." Mr. Zuma joined the new Umkhonto Wezizwe MK party in December and is spearheading its campaign for votes in the build-up to the 29th of May general election. It is unclear whether Mr. Nhleko intends to do likewise, but some of the rhetoric in his resignation letter was similar to that used by Mr. Zuma when he announced in December that he was throwing his weight behind MK. Now, after our top stories, Ari Hohad will delve deeper into the political sphere of South Africa.
That is correct, but we end off our top stories with some international news as a federal appeals court on Tuesday refused to hold 5 major technology companies liable over their alleged support for the use of child labor in cobalt mining operations in the Democratic Republic of Congo. In a 3-0 decision, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia ruled in favor of Google parent Alphabet, Apple, Dell Technologies, Microsoft, and Tesla, rejecting an appeal by former child miners and their representatives. The plaintiffs accused the 5 companies of joining suppliers in a forced labor venture by purchasing cobalt, which is used to make lithium-ion batteries that are widely used in electronics. Nearly 2/3 of the world's cobalt comes from the DRC. Now, according to the complaint, the companies deliberately obscured their dependence on child labor, including many children pressured into work by hunger and extreme poverty, to ensure their growing need for the metal would be met. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. As Glenora highlighted, we'll be talking to Ari Hohad about the happenings in South Africa after the break.
On behalf of the National Road Safety Council and all stakeholders in the road safety subsector, I extend our deepest and heartfelt condolences to the former First Lady, Madam Muneka Kaingos, the bereaved family, the relatives, friends, and the entire Namibian nation on the sudden passing of our beloved President, His Excellency Dr. Hage Gottfried Geingob. His leadership, resilience, and firm belief in systems, institutions, and processes will forever be kept and cherished in our hearts, as well as his belief in unity, inclusivity, and equality. I, on behalf of the National Road Safety Council and all stakeholders in the road safety subsector, join the rest of the nation in mourning the passing of our distinguished leader. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
It's time for us to cross over to South Africa and talk to Ari Hohad about the latest stories stemming from Zanzi. Good morning, Ari.
Yes, a very good morning, Ashwin. Nice to talk to you this morning.
Good to talk to you too, Ari. Now, the campaigning for votes continues to intensify as South Africa approaches a very important national election in May. We recently spoke about the former ANC member defecting, and of course, people are speculating he'll be joining Jacob Zuma. But do let us know what the landscape looks like.
So lots of campaigning, of course, happening. 29 May is the date for the elections, and it's many of the focus have been in the manifestos about job creation. So you have all the parties promising creating jobs. So it's easy to maybe campaign for creating jobs. It's maintaining the jobs that may be more of an issue at the moment. Just to give figures, I mean, the manifestos, the ANC said they'll create 2.5 million jobs for the next 4 years. The EFF say they'll do it, they create 4 million jobs, and the DA say 2 million jobs. So everybody's creating jobs. It's maintaining the jobs that's maybe the challenge that needs to be more in the manifesto. That's got to do with what's happening with the state entities, of course, as well, what's happening with electricity and with the transnets, etc., etc. So we'll see how that develops. But at the moment, just maybe in the fourth quarter, indication was 169,000 jobs created in the fourth quarter, but 167,000 of that was just in the Western Cape. So just 2,000 jobs created in the other parts of the country. So the Western Cape doing a little bit better there. So it's also region by region that needs to be looked at, but it's lots of focus on job creation.
Yeah. Well, moving on to your next story, growth in the South African economy increased marginally in the third quarter, while the newest petrol price hike is bad news for consumers.
Yes, there's challenges in the third quarter. Well, there was a little bit of a growth, up 0.1%. I must just say we just had load shedding. So if I go down, it's load shedding. But anyway, it's 0.1% that it was a bit better. The Eskom power generation was better in the fourth quarter as well. And the year-to-year GDP also up 1.2% in the fourth quarter. But people say that South Africa missed recession it was because of Eskom doing a little bit better in the fourth quarter. But the rand dollar under pressure, that is the big challenge there, over 19 rand for the dollar. That equates also to the petrol price. From today, petrol costs 1 rand 21 more expensive per litre. Diesel 1 rand and 6 cents more per litre. So we'll pay now almost 24.45 cents for a litre of petrol in South Africa. So that is a bit of a challenge. The economy is under pressure there, but it's also out of South Africa's hand. It's got the oil price up in the north. It's cold winters in America. The oil price is high. There's challenges in the Red Sea. So that also all equates to a higher petrol price. It's not all South Africa's fault.
I hear that, and usually there's a domino effect when it comes to petrol prices, but right now it seems like Namibia has been buffered from these increases by the National Energy Fund, and we'll be looking at that as we get into economic news. Now, supermarket retailer Shoprite extended its market share and also plans a multi-billion rand expansion.
Yes, so doing well. They plan to have 8.5 billion South African rand available for the next year for growing. They want to add 197 more stores. They already have 3,543 stores, shops, ShopRite stores all over the country and in Africa. So they're doing very well. They have 161,000 employees. So they're valued at 154 billion South African rand on the JSE. So they're doing really well, the ShopRite group, and they've gained ground on all the competitors for the last 58 months. So they really have lots of momentum and they're pushing lots of money into new developments as well.
Now, getting to the last of your stories, the World Anti-Doping Agency has suspended Africa's only accredited drug testing laboratory situated in South Africa. This is a bit concerning.
Yes, there's only 41 of them worldwide that's accredited, so it's only one in Africa. It's in Bloemfontein, linked to the University of Bloemfontein. So it's a very technical, it's certain parts are very technical parts for them to be able to say when it's a normal testosterone and when there's drugs involved in the testing. It's a technical thing, but so it's for the next 6 months. South Africa need to get that in place. They need more funds to get the technology to address that. It is all the current testings will be sent to the other labs in Europe. That is Horn, that's one of the athletes that was banned for 4 years in the last few years. There's also a rugby player or two, Yankees, that was banned. So we don't know if those players will maybe come back to say we'll challenge the system, because it seems like everything was not in order in Bloemfontein. So maybe we must wait for that. But at the moment, WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, not happy with a few components of what's happening there, and they need to improve. They're well aware what to improve. It's going to cost them money. So hopefully they will be able to do that. But current tests that is still pending will be sent to Europe to accredited laboratories to be tested. So it's important that needs to be fixed. They have a fair play in sport.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ari, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
Yes, big pleasure. Great day for everyone. Great week. Bye-bye.
All right, so in economic news, we're going to be talking about iPhone China sales dropping whilst Huawei sales are going up. And of course, we get into that article by Augeto Greg talking about how Namibia has managed to, buffer themselves, protect themselves from the fuel hikes. Yes, for this month from the fuel hikes in South Africa. So stay with us as we head over first to the weather predictions. Now, in economic news, sales in China of Apple's iPhone fell by 24% in the first weeks of 2024, first 6 weeks, compared to a year earlier, according to research from Counterpoint. It comes as the U.S. technology giant is facing fierce competition in the country from local rivals. During the same period, China's Huawei saw its sales jump by 64% in its home market, the report says. Aside from a resurgence of Huawei sales at the more expensive end of the Chinese phone market, Apple was also squeezed in the middle on aggressive pricing from the likes of Oppo, Vivo, and Xiaomi. Counterpoint researchers Meng Zhang wrote. Now, China, which is one of Apple's biggest markets, also saw overall smartphone sales shrink by 7% in the same period, the report said.
Wrapping up our economic stories, according to Ogera Greg, the National Energy Fund is keeping petrol prices in check across Namibia this month, with $124 million being allocated to protect vehicle owners from global oil price increases and the impact of exchange rate changes. Neighboring South Africa is not so happy with the Minister of Resources and Energy, Gwete Mantashe, who announced on Monday that motorists there will have to fork out R1.21 more per litre of petrol from today onwards.
All right, those have been our economic news stories. We're going to head over to the economic indicators just before Ari returns with the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with English Premier League football action. Arsenal having a away game against Sheffield United, but Arsenal came away comfortable winners 6-0, and that is to move within 2 points of the log leaders Liverpool. That is after 27 games have been played in the season so far. It was Arsenal that was close to unstoppable in the first half. They scored 5 goals within the first 39 minutes and in the end won comfortably by 6-0. The log at the moment is Liverpool leading after 27 games on 63 points, then followed 1 point back on 62 points by Manchester City, followed by Arsenal on 61 points. Quite close to the top 3 at the moment, and it is in 4th position Aston Villa on 55 points, a little bit down on the list. So the winner of this year's English Premier League most likely to come from either Liverpool, Manchester City or Arsenal. This coming weekend, a very important game for the log leaders and the team in second place. It is Liverpool that will host Manchester City, and that game will be played on Sunday, and that game will be played at Anfield at Liverpool's home ground. Moving on to rugby news, it is the Six Nations rugby tournament that continues, the best 6 teams in Europe that continue on this weekend. 3 games have been played, and this coming weekend it will be log leaders Ireland that will play England. That's a away game for them. They travel to London to play at Twickenham. Then also Wales, they at home to France, and then it will be Italy that will host Scotland. At the moment, after 3 games, it is Ireland comfortably ahead. They've got 15 league points, followed by Scotland on 9. Then it is England on 8 and France on 6 points. That's the top 4 at the moment. And also team news from Scotland is that they recalled the lock Marcel Sykes, and he haven't played for Scotland for the last 2 years. So he's back in the squad at just 24 years old, and he plays for the Edinburgh club. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is cycling news. It is the well-known Paris to Nice cycle tour that started. It was stage 2. It was a sprint to the line in the end, won by Arvid de Klein. He is from the Netherlands, and he won it in a tight sprint with Lawrence Pitchy of Australia in second position. It was the biggest win of his career, that is de Klein's career, and he upset many of the big-name sprinters in the sprint to the line. In the general classifications, it is Lawrence Pitchy after finishing second in the stage. He's now the yellow jersey holder, and he's followed by Mats Peterson, and also a little bit down in fifth position is Remco Evenepoel, one of the early favourites. So stage 3, that will continue with the Paris-Nice, will be a time trial. That will be a team time trial, and it will be in Auxerre, and it will be 26.9 kilometres long. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we'll talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraita. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning throughout the broadcast. Let's have a look at the highlights. Senegalese President Macky Sall was handed the report written following the national dialogue he convened last week. No justification for Gaza carnage, Nigeria Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuga says during a visit in Qatar. And Apple iPhone China sales slide as Huawei soars, according to a report.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday morning. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry. Soda Jakanaka.